When I was younger, I wanted to be a singer for a really long time until I realised I definitely couldn't sing. And then I wanted to be an astronaut, which I suspect many small children go through that process. But I kind of wanted to be the idea of these things, and perhaps they weren't a true representation of me as the person that I was. And so I just kept making choices that led me towards more of a creative path. When I was at school, art was a lot of stuff that, even though I consider myself a creative person, I'm still no good at. I can't paint to save my life or draw or do any of those kinds of things. I appreciate them, but they're not for me. And I think as a young person, if you're given those as examples of this is what art is, and you don't fit into those immediate boxes, it's very simple in your mindset to draw a line under it and say, oh, okay, well, I'm no good at those things, so I'm not going to be an artist. And maybe that's what happened to me, and it took me a long time to realise that not only was there art, but there was photography within that, and then within that, you could break that down into all these different areas. And yeah, I couldn't imagine doing anything else. This is my Amiya. This is like my absolute baby, actually. Like, I'm very precious about this, much more precious than the digital, even though I don't actually use it as much as I would like to use it. But anytime I go traveling, anytime I sort of do things more for me, I tend to use this. And then I use my digital when I'm in the studio, which is more and more at the moment. My work is often very chaotic, and my studio is just, wall to wall, my ideas basically. And I'm very aware that it's a melting pot of all these different things, which is actually what I love about my work, is that it's this opportunity to bring together potentially conflicting things into one space. And when I think back to Hong Kong and I think about growing up there, that's very much how I relate to it. It's this very, very small place, really, that is just filled to the brim with all of these different people and cultures and experiences, and that has got to have played into kind of how I think, and visually, as a tiny person, taking in all that stuff and being kind of bombarded by visual imagery has definitely led to, I think, the visual manifestation of my work now. I always have at least one sketchbook on the go. Generally speaking, it will start with some kind of thought system. Like, there's just so much research, which a lot of the time is me just writing a bunch of stuff down. I think I've always questioned what I'm looking at or what's been told to me, and I think that's probably true of every artist, is that we are a type of person that is constantly questioning and doesn't necessarily accept the things that are around you as a norm, whether that's political or within the society or community that you live in. And for me, a lot of my work revolves around this idea of perspective, and I think it's about constantly questioning how you see the world, how it's presented to you, the context it's presented to you, and what that means. I'm very interested in how information is disseminated and how that informs us, misinforms us, how our current society allows us to read that information. Ultimately, the whole point of any of this is to look at everything that is happening to us and to push back, and to not necessarily say that just because somebody tells you something is that way, that it is that way. And visual imagery is a massive way that we are influenced and that we can influence people. I guess it's my way of using art to create social change and to try and make people more aware of information and how the ways in which they might be being misled. I guess just give them a little bit of encouraging discernment. I love doing stuff like this, like the visualizing of how it's all going to work out is one of my favourite bits actually. Oh, and then that was like my actual mock-up. Where is it? Here. Oh, there we go. So that was the final install shot, and that was the plan. My creative process is often really tricky. Like, it's not that fun until a certain stage. There's almost a certain amount of resistance when you're trying to take yourself and your ego out of the way and then actually just make the work. It's often more painful than it is enjoyable until a moment when it all comes together, and then it is the best thing in the world. I think when I first graduated, to me, success was if I was selected for an award or if my work was featured in an interview or in a magazine. I was so happy. I felt that that was building the stepping stones for me to becoming established. Now I feel slightly differently, and I think that the thing that keeps me going really is making the work. And I've been learning that actually that is at the core of everything, and if people were just not interested in anything I made, I would still need to do it in order to feel happy. So that's a real motivation, I guess, that, you know, this is going to happen anyway, so let's just, you know, I'm going to spend the rest of my days trying to figure out exactly who I am as a visual artist, or whatever kind of title you want to give it.